You don't need $20,000 to start a law firm, but you could spend that much if you're not careful, or even more. Today, we're talking real numbers with a focus on keeping your overhead low and not overspending, because we're not going to go into debt starting your law firm. I'm Darcel Lobo, a solo attorney who teaches you how to open and build a successful law firm. I started my law firm with a very small budget 10 years ago, $2,500 to be exact. And today I'm breaking down exactly what it's going to cost you in 2026 to get your law firm open. Let's get into it. Now, when I open my law firm and what I teach my lawyers when they're opening their law firm is that we don't need all the bells and whistles. I am all about very low overhead and building a very lean law firm when you're first starting. You don't need a fancy office. You don't need a full staff. You don't need all the tech and everything on day one, because we need to get clients in the door and worry about all those things later. So we're going to go over 5 different cost categories when opening your law firm: your business setup, technology and software, marketing, office expenses, and then insurance and compliance. Again, we are building a lean, profitable law firm, not an expensive one. So let's start with your business setup cost. I would say this probably can be under $500. You need to pick your entity formation. Now, each state's going to be different. I'm in Washington State. My law firm is a PLLC, a professional LLC. You probably have something equivalent in your state. That's what I did. That's probably what you should do. Your state filing fees for your business entity here in Washington State, it was $200. Each state, again, is going to be different, but probably somewhere around that range. You're also going to want an operating agreement for your law firm. Now, I had a trusted colleague and friend who was willing and happy enough to help me and to do mine. I do LLC work, but I don't do my own legal work. I think, what do they say? A lawyer who does their own legal work has a fool for a client. I think that's what they say. So if you know someone, or if you are comfortable doing your own operating agreement, go ahead and do so. It's just you. There's no other members. There's no other co-owners. So it shouldn't be overly complicated. You're going to need to get your EIN, your tax ID number for your law firm. That's free. You do that at irs.gov. Do not use, please hear me. If you are multitasking, come back to me. Do not use your personal social security number for your business. Even if you decide to be a sole prop, I believe you can still get an EIN number for your business. Do not use your social. You are going to have to give this number out to people. So you don't want it to be your personal social security number. Get a tax ID number for your business. And that's what's going to allow you to do the next thing, which is open a business bank account. That should be free. You should not be paying to open your operating account. And then if you need a trust account, you should not be paying for that either. Those should be free. There's plenty of banks that offer free options. And so those are the initial business entity kind of setup costs for your business. You're going to keep this very low. You're not going to overcomplicate this. You're not going to get stuck here trying to make everything perfect. We just need to get it done and checked off of our to-do list, and we're going to keep it moving. Now, if you're here with me today because you are just starting out and you want to get your law firm open, you want to make sure that you avoid the 7 mistakes that law firm owners make. And I have a free guide for you, the 7 mistakes law firm owners make and how to avoid them. Make sure you get that below. It's a freebie for you. I want you to have that to get you on the right track in opening your law firm. Let's keep going. Next up, insurance and compliance. I'm going to give you the behind the scenes of what you should be doing here. So make sure you are taking notes. When it comes to your malpractice insurance policy, when you first start out in your law firm, you are probably not going to have a full caseload of clients unless you're taking them with you from another firm. But for most of you, you're not going to have a full book of clients when you first go solo. When you are looking for a malpractice insurance policy, make sure you are looking at a part-time policy, because you are probably not having a caseload of a full-time attorney. When I first went out on my own in 2016, I had a part-time policy. I still have a part-time policy because I do not work in my law firm full-time, but I shared that with you before. When I first started in 2016 on my own, my policy was $1,200, $1,199 to be exact, but $1,200 for the year. That was a $1 million, $2 million policy with a $5,000 deductible. People aren't going to tell you these kind of numbers like I am telling you. These are the things that I wish I had when I went out on my own. I didn't know a part-time malpractice insurance policy was an option. I didn't know what it was going to cost. People don't just they're not transparent about these things. And that's what I'm here to do for you if you are going out on your own and running your law firm. Currently, my malpractice policy is $2,200 a year, and it's still a part-time policy. But over the years, it has gone up. Even though I've had no claims, it was my understanding that the malpractice insurance, years ago, that it would go down over the years when you don't have claims. That has not been the case at all. It has continued to go up every year, even though I have been claim free. And I have shopped around. I use Main Street as my malpractice insurance broker, and they were just like renewing the same policy, and it kept going up, up, up. And I was just like, why am I using the same company? Can't you guys are a broker, can't you shop my policy around? And they did, and got me a lower policy at still like a, what do they call the ranking? Like a triple A, like an A plus insurance policy. So it's still a good policy. But you don't always have to stay with the same company if your renewals are getting too high. So make sure you look at shopping around if you need to when it comes time for renewal season. But again, if it applies to you, look into getting a part-time policy. Now, besides your malpractice insurance, if you have a brick and mortar office like I do, you're also going to need property insurance, like if somebody got, injured on the property, or to cover your equipment in your office, right? Because I'm a tenant, and so I have my policy as a tenant. That is $500 a month. Oh, and what I wanted to add. So for this policy, for my property insurance, you can pay that monthly. And same with malpractice insurance. You don't have to pay all that upfront out of pocket. You can spread that over usually the course of a year, or at least 9 or 10 months. So again, we want to keep your initial out of pocket in opening your law firm low until you have the revenue coming in to be able to pay for things. So that's one way you can keep insurance lower, is do it on a monthly plan for malpractice insurance and property insurance if you have an actual brick and mortar office. Okay, that is it for insurance. Let's get to compliance. And when I say compliance, I'm talking about your bar dues and licensing, things like that. So for me in the state of Washington, my state bar dues, which are mandatory, are about $600 per year. And that includes some section dues. So I am a part of 3 different sections in our state bar: the solo section, the real property, probate, trust law section, and then also the creditor debtor section. And so each of those sections are about $30 each. So in total, I pay about $600 a year for my state bar dues. I also pay to be a member of my county bar association, and that's about $300 a year. And then I'm a member of 2 different minority bar associations, Mama's Seattle for mother attorneys, and I'm also part of the Lauren Miller Bar Association. And those 2 combined are about $200 a year. So for those, it's about $1,100 a year. None of those offer payment plan options. You pay that lump sum when it comes time to renew. And then also, if you need a trust account for those compliance purposes for client retainer deposits, again, that should be free. I do have a trust account. I use it pretty nominally. I don't really do a lot of billing work. Primarily, I am flat fee. So there's not a lot of activity in the trust account. But if you are doing trust matters, you'll want to get that account open as well for your law firm. But it shouldn't cost you anything to get the account open. Depending on how busy you are when you first open, let's talk about accounting software. When I went out on my own in 2016, I spent $0 on accounting because I literally used a Word document to track the dollars that came in and the dollars that went out. My poor CPA, I feel so bad for her for my first year of taxes for my law firm because I sent her over a Word document. But everything was there and it was simple. But then, year 2, I had my first W-2 employee. I had more things kind of coming in and out of my business account. And so that's when I hired an actual bookkeeper for my law firm who runs everything through QuickBooks and reconciles everything. And so, but year 1, again, I was scrappy. I was lean. I did not spend a lot of money, and that just goes to prove that you don't need to. Now, if you out the gate are having a busier practice and you're not able to do a Word doc, I don't recommend that you use a Word doc to track your numbers, but that's all I could do at the time because, again, I didn't have extra dollars to spend when I first opened my law firm. So figure out what's best for you, but just know that's an option also. You can do what I did. It worked just fine. All right, let's talk about the tech and the software that you need in your law firm. Your must-haves. These are things that you need to have in your law firm. I'm going to go over kind of must-haves and then things that'll be nice to add later when you have revenue coming in. So your email and your domain. I use GoDaddy for both, and I use Outlook for my actual email. For GoDaddy, I think for my Microsoft bundle, I think that's about $150 a year. And I think they have monthly options, so I think it's like $12 or $13 per month for like the business suite of Microsoft. And then for GoDaddy, for your email and domain, when you find the domain that you want, and on GoDaddy.com, you can just type in the domain name that you want and it'll tell you if it's available or not. So if they're not being used by anyone, it should be pretty cheap to buy that domain. If it's in high demand, somebody probably already owns it and then there's like a sales price attached to it. I've had some lawyers consider like, should I buy this domain name? I really want this domain name, but somebody else has it, but it's like $5,000 to buy it. I say no. But I didn't have $5,000 to spend on a domain name when I first went out on my own either. So I think when you get your domain and email, when you buy your domain, you can lock it in for a number of years. I think the last time I looked, 5 years was the longest. And so do 5 years. I think maybe I spent $300-$400 or so on that initial GoDaddy investment to secure my domain name for those 5 years and then get my email set up. So not a big expense, but that is out of pocket for that GoDaddy cost. You can't do that monthly, so that is an initial out of pocket. For a website, I did my own law firm website myself. I did not pay someone, and I'm not super tech savvy. I don't know how to build a website. I tried to do Wix. I couldn't. It was too much. That is not my strength. So I used Squarespace to build my own first website. It was under $200 a year. I think it was like $120 that I paid for building the website and then for them to host it. I know GoDaddy also offers like do-it-yourself websites along with the hosting. I have not played around with that, and I don't have Squarespace anymore. I use FindLaw for my website now at this point because I have the revenue to support doing so. But going out on your own, there's beautiful templates on Squarespace. I think GoDaddy also. Pretty much plug and play, very easy. Do not spend a lot of time agonizing over your website because you're going to make changes to it as you continue and grow in your practice. 10 years in, I'm continually making updates and tweaking and reviewing my website. It's never going to be perfect, so just let that go now, okay? Also, you're going to need a logo for your law firm. I spent maybe $50, I think it was probably more like $30 on a website called Fiverr, Fiverr. Nowadays, maybe you'll spend about $100. I'll put my logo here for you so you can kind of see my law firm's logo. It's not the fanciest, it's not the coolest, but it's the same one that I have from when I opened my law firm 10 years ago, and it works great. Keep it cheap, keep it professional, and then if you want to, you can upgrade it later. Again, I've never changed my logo, and I don't think anybody really cares about the logo other than ourselves, right? We care about our own logo. I don't think anybody else does. Just saying. Now let's talk about Adobe Pro. Each practice area is going to be different, but for me, I rely heavily on PDFs and the editing abilities, and then also the e-signature tool that it comes with. And so if you rely heavily on Adobe and PDFs and want to be able to e-sign with clients, I highly recommend Adobe Pro is the way to go. I checked for this video. I think the fee was $25 per month per user. So if you have anyone else in your office using it, it's going to be, times the number of people. And so I think I pay, it must be $25 per person per month. And just me, my paralegal use it. My receptionist doesn't. So probably about $600 a month is what I'm paying right now. that is worth it. And if it's just you starting off, then you only need to pay for one person. And I think you can pay monthly. I just paid annually because I think there's a discount, but you can pay monthly to, again, spread out how much you're paying out of pocket before you're bringing revenue in the door. Also, let's go into document storage. I am cloud-based. I highly advise that you have your software in cloud-based versions as well. That way, as you add to your team, you get a new laptop, you upgrade things. Cloud has just been the way to go. I use Dropbox. It's $15 per user per month. And so it's not going to be a large expense. And I think also you can pay this monthly and kind of pay as you go and not have to pay it once a year for a larger amount. If you are in a practice area where you may need software, I want you to strongly consider if you actually need that software. So let's take myself, for example. I do estate planning, I do probate, I do well, I don't really do bankruptcy anymore, but that was a big part of my practice is bankruptcy, then also residential real estate. For my estate planning practice, I had like my templates that were Word docs that we would revise and edit. I want you to think about if you really need software, especially if you're doing estate planning. Do you truly need software? Because some of these softwares are really expensive. I think, Wealth Counsel is a big name for estate planners. I think you can spend $8,000-$9,000 a year on Wealth Counsel. I do have Wealth Counsel. I have that now. I've gotten more advanced in my estate planning over the years, but for a number of years, I did not have it. And so if you are going to manually use Word document templates, you really have to pay attention as you're updating them that you're catching every change where it needs to be. And here's a practice tip that I learned from another attorney, that if you have your template, contracts or leases or other documents that you're using for clients, make sure all the content that you are modifying is at the beginning of the document or at the end of the document, and the middle of the document stays the same for all the clients, right? So for example, if you're doing a will, you're going to want all the things that you're modifying on like page 1 and 2, and then maybe page 7 and 8, or however long the will is, depending on how complex it is, the beginning and the end. You don't want to be having to go through all the pages in the middle to try and find all the places that you need to edit and update. Beginning and end for all your contracts that you are modifying manually. Also, besides estate planning, I do bankruptcy, and there's also bankruptcy software. It's much less expensive than estate planning. It's usually under $100 a month for most bankruptcy softwares. Best case is pretty spendy sometimes, I think. But you have a lot of options beyond best case for bankruptcy. So I would say probably about $100 or so a month. But also, you can download the fillable forms from the court's website. That is a pain in the butt to have to do manually an entire bankruptcy petition for a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. I know that. I get that. But if you don't have revenue coming in, that's not an expense you have to be paying. So just consider when you're looking at the out-of-pocket, how much you have to afford to pay for things, what you actually need, and what would be nice to have later. Let's get into some more nice to have later options. So case management software. I use my case. It starts at $49 per month, and it goes up to $119 per month per user. But I've shared with you before, because we've talked about practice management here before. I've used Clio, I've used my case, I use Practice Panther, I've used Smokeball. I used to have a Word document, I use Asana, I've had a whiteboard where I track clients, right? You don't need to pay for practice management software to track your files and track your clients, and also for billing. You don't need practice management software for billing. Is it nice to have? Yes. Does it make things easier? Yes. And when you're making more money and bringing more revenue into your law firm and you need to free up your time from doing these things manually, that's when you're integrating more technology. That's when you're leveraging it to help you and your law firm to be more efficient. But when you're first starting out and you've got some time on your hands, maybe you're not paying for all these things that would be nice to have. Also, along these same lines, automation tools. Now, a lot of your case management software has automation tools in it. So make sure if you are buying case management software that you are using it to its full capabilities and not just using my case for billing. They do so much more. My case, Clio, all the options. So make sure you're actually utilizing it to leverage it to help your small but mighty law firm. Also, one of my first bigger investments in my firm was a virtual receptionist. I did not have it on day one, but it became apparent pretty quickly that I could not keep up with the calls. I was missing calls, and it's just not a productive way to run your day to have the phone interrupting you all day long. So I hired a virtual receptionist pretty early on. I use Smith AI. There's a lot of options for virtual receptionists for law firms. You could spend, I think, as little as $300 per month, and it can go up from there to over $1,000 based on the call volume and what all you're having that virtual receptionist do. Are they scheduling appointments? Are they just forwarding messages? Like, what all do you want them to do? And that's all going to determine how much you spend. But I would plan on at least $300 a month, probably more, somewhere around $600 to $700 a month for my solos is what I've been seeing my solos paying for virtual receptionists to manage the phones. So we just went over a number of options for technology and for software. I think the takeaway here is don't buy everything up front. Buy what you absolutely need to start. Spread out payments monthly if you can to reduce the initial out-of-cost investment, and then add as you have the revenue coming in to support paying for those additional things. Okay, let's get into marketing. And I think I'm going to shock you with what I'm going to say about marketing and what your marketing budget should be when you open your law firm. Because for me, I say it should be $0 spent on marketing. Now, when I went out on my own 10 years ago, you know how much I spent? $0. If I were to do it now, I would also spend $0. Because if I were opening my law firm in the next 60 days or 90 days, you know what I'd be doing right now? I'd be creating so much content before I open my law firm. The blogs, the social media, short form videos, long form videos. I would have such a library of content for me to flood the different platforms with when I went solo for people to find me. But aside from content, let me back this up. The reason why I say this is I tell my lawyers all the time, Google owns YouTube. When your client is looking for whatever it is that you can help them do, they're looking online. They're looking on Google a lot of times. And your video content will get picked up. I can tell you firsthand because it has happened to me and my law firm. It has driven so much traffic to my law firm, especially for estate planning and probate matters. And bankruptcy actually I've gotten a lot of traffic. And there's so few competition. I didn't say that right. But there's so few lawyers who are willing to get on video and talk about their practice areas, which is an advantage to you, especially as a solo. That's where you can outperform your other small law firms, mid-sized law firms. So you can get out there and pump out as much content as you want to, answering the questions that your clients are asking, because your clients are already out there. Your clients already need your help. Your clients are already looking for you. We need to get you in front of them. We need to make you findable. And that's what I would do. I would focus on being Not only is that what I would do if I were starting over again, that's what I still do. I still make video content for my law firm's website, my law firm on our YouTube page. I still write 4 blogs a month, 2 for my website and then 2 for a local neighborhood blog in our area that perform so well for me. I still do that now. And if I were starting now, my law firm now, I would do the same thing again. But aside from content, also, you know a lot of people, and you may not realize that you know a lot of people, but you do. So I would be telling everyone that I know about me going out on my own, what I do, what problems I solve, who I can help. Your current network, making the content, referral sources, people that you know, other lawyers, other professionals who come into contact with your ideal client. For me, when I was pushing my bankruptcy work, that'd be real estate agents, that'd be mortgage bankers, that would be my local branches, that could be debt settlement companies, that could be credit repair companies. There's so many other people who come into contact with your client. Also for estate planning, same thing. Financial planners, CPAs. Who are your ideal clients talking to that need your help? Where are they? That's who you need to go meet. That's who you need to go have coffee with and go have lunch with, and not just as a one-time thing. This needs to be an ongoing relationship that you are building. And also, it's not just for selfish reasons. It's not just about what can you give me. It's also what can you give them. Because there's so many times that my estate planning clients come to me and they don't have a financial planner. They need a new CPA. And I'm able to connect them with people that I know I can trust, that I know will take good care of them. And the clients appreciate that so much. Also, speaking gigs. I'm talking about your bar association, your local churches, your chamber of commerce, community centers, Rotary. You need to get in front of people because you're not trying to find clients. Don't think of it that way. You're not trying to find clients. You just need to help your clients find you. Because again, they're already out there. They already need your help. You just got to put yourself in front of them. That's the only thing you have to do. Get in front of your client. Now let's talk about some paid options. Because again, once you have revenue coming in and you're able to pay for things, you may want to start paying for some marketing things. I wouldn't do this out the gate on day one, but once you have revenue coming in, you might want to think about Google ads or different social media ads or the other SEO efforts, paying for, keywords or being on different lists. Let's talk about these attorney directories. I say don't pay for them, especially Avo. I would not pay for Avo at all. I've tried it out in the past. I have my profile. I've claimed it. My photo's on there. I have some reviews. I'm not paying for it. Those referrals have not been good in my experience. Now, maybe that's just my practice areas of estate planning, bankruptcy, real estate that wasn't good. But I don't know that I've ever heard an attorney say, oh, wow, Avo's amazing. I get a lot of great referrals there. I haven't heard that. That could be the case for some attorneys, but I don't hear that. I would not pay for that. I think the key takeaway when you are just starting out and you're looking at marketing is that your clients are going to come from relationships and come from visibility and from developing that know, like, and trust factor. And you do that with referral sources where there's already a vote of confidence in you by whoever referred you, by doing the speaking gigs from a position of authority and building that relationship there, or even showing up online. Again, you continuing to show up over and over again and being seen as an authority on your practice area develops that know, like, and trust factor with your potential clients. Okay, let's keep it moving and let's talk about your office space. If you're going to do a home office, it's going to cost you $0. If you want to do a virtual office, I would expect maybe around $200 per month. If you're going to do a shared space, a little bit more, probably $200 to $800 per month. If you're going to do a brick and mortar private office, be prepared to spend over $1,000 a month. When I went out on my own 10 years ago, I had a brick and mortar office and I still have that same office today. And if I were starting my law firm now, I would still get a brick and mortar office. It's in part out of necessity because with estate planning, I need to meet with clients in person. I don't do remote signings for estate plans. But also, I just know myself and I am much more efficient when I'm out of my home office and at a brick and mortar. I just get so much more done. I am so much more productive. When I am at home, there's laundry to do. My dog is here. There's dishes to do. There's always a distraction at home, even though I have an office in my home that has 4 walls and a door. I still just get very easily distracted by what's going on at home, even if nobody's home. No one's here. But I can still just find a reason to not do some work. So going to my brick and mortar, and right now I go in about 2 days a week, is very helpful for me and helps me to be more productive in my law firm. Okay, so let's bottom line this conversation. We've gone through kind of different expenses you're going to have in going out on your own. Again, I'm going to tell you, start lean. Don't overspend. Don't buy what you don't need. When I first went solo, my budget was $2,500 to pay for everything to get my law firm launched. In 2026, I pretty much would have the same setup. It's going to cost some more. I think maybe around $4,000, maybe $5,000, depending on your practice area. But somewhere in that range to get your law firm open. We are not going to go into debt to get our law firm open. You don't need to. And I get it. I understand why you're thinking about going solo. You want control over your time. You want more freedom. You want more revenue. And you know there's a better way to run a law firm and how to practice law. So you're in the right place and you're asking the right questions. And hopefully, videos like mine are making it more clear for you if going solo is the right choice for you. We've covered costs today, but if you want a blueprint on getting your law firm open, you'll want to watch this next video on how to start a law firm from scratch in 2026. So head over there and I'll see you in the next one.